The University of Technology Sydney is just beyond the most central part of Sydney. UTS is based here on Broadway. This cluster of buildings in and around a city block represents the main campus. The uni is metropolitan, forming part of Sydney City itself. That's the first thing to know about UTS, but there is much more to come. Let's explore UTS and see what it has to offer students from Australia and around the world. UTS is a technology university, and this shows in the fields of study where it is strongest. According to official figures, the programs where it has unusually large student numbers are engineering, creative arts, management and commerce, architecture and information technology. Because many of the technology industries attract more men than women, the gender balance is right on 50-50 at UTS, whereas universities in Australia normally average 57% female students. The weakest fields at UTS in terms of enrolments are the social sciences and the humanities, along with teacher education. Despite a level of specialisation and being a relatively young uni, UTS is still big in terms of student numbers. It has just over 50,000 students, making it the third largest in Sydney and the 10th biggest in Australia. Almost 3/4 are Australian, which is a high local proportion compared to most other unis, and 69% are doing bachelor degrees, which is also on the high side. To love your time as a student of UTS, you really need to be comfortable and enjoy the city lifestyle that Sydney offers. Every day will normally involve walking the streets and laneways in and around the uni. UTS rises through this part of Sydney with a few striking landmarks, from the glass curves of UTS Central to the greenery hanging down the engineering and IT building. They don't sit apart from the city, they shape the streets around them. As you move between classes, you weave through Broadway and Railway Square and pass under tall facades. There's a good feeling in walking through such a vital area, knowing you're not just passing through like a visitor. You're here for a purpose. And each of these impressive buildings is part of your uni. You'll see students everywhere, heading to different faculties, grabbing a break between classes, or making their way towards Central Park Mall or nearby accommodation. Transport is convenient because UTS is beside Central Station, the biggest interchange in the country. Most students arrive through Central and walk a few minutes to class. With trains, buses and light rail meeting here, getting to the uni is easy from almost anywhere in Sydney. All of this creates a study setting where the city blends naturally into student life, giving UTS its own kind of energy without pulling your attention away from what you're here to do. If you decide to study at UTS, you'll experience a modern approach to learning and job preparation. The uni was founded in 1988 with the idea that higher education should be closely connected to how industries actually operate, not separated from them. That thinking still shapes how UTS teaches today, particularly in its biggest fields of business and management, engineering, and information technology. In these areas, learning is built around practical problems rather than abstract theory. Business students spend a lot of time working on real-world cases, developing reports and presentations that resemble what graduates are expected to produce in professional roles. Engineering students work through design challenges and technical projects that mirror industry conditions, often in teams, with deadlines and constraints similar to real workplaces. In IT, you develop applied skills, systems thinking, and work with the latest tools and software. This approach flows through into the facilities UTS has built. Many learning spaces are designed for collaboration rather than passive lectures, with rooms set up for group work, discussion, and project development. The emphasis is on learning by doing, testing ideas, and explaining decisions, because that's how graduates are expected to function once they leave university. Graduates are further advantaged by the university's strong reputation. UTS is one of Australia's top 10 unis based on world rankings, despite being younger than those ahead of it. Internationally, UTS is placed inside the top 200 universities worldwide, and on some measures, it's inside the top 100. A high ranking reflects rapid growth combined with a sustained commitment to research and innovation. In terms of the ratings given by students, UTS courses are generally close to national averages, with no obvious weaknesses. Bachelor degree students report exceptionally high levels of interaction with their peers, consistent with the uni's emphasis on group projects and teamwork. Postgraduate students rate their experiences highly and, in particular, give high ratings to the facilities and resources provided, with satisfaction close to 90%. University life at UTS is what you make it. You can't just turn up to classes and expect a social life to somehow organically evolve. You need to make an effort. This is true of most Australian unis, but especially metro sites like UTS, where there isn't an enclosed campus where people just hang out. It is highly recommended that you join multiple clubs and societies and see which ones work for you. There are over 180 to choose from. They are subsidised by the student union and are able to provide good deals for events and activities. Making friends allows you to really enjoy the amazing lifestyle that Sydney offers. A big part of student life is deciding where to live, and here UTS has a big advantage over every other Sydney uni. Because the campus sits right next to Central Station, you can get into UTS quickly from almost anywhere in Sydney. That greatly expands your accommodation options. At most other Sydney unis, travel times blow out unless you live in a small group of nearby suburbs or along certain train, light rail or bus routes. This restricts where it makes sense to rent. At UTS, you can choose where to live based on your budget. Cheaper accommodation further out can start in the low 200s per week, while small luxury apartments in the city can cost much more. UTS also offers purpose-built student accommodation close to campus, which is convenient but limited and competitive, so availability can be tight. The question many people have when weighing up whether to study at UTS is how it compares with the University of Sydney and UNSW. Not everyone has these other options because it is somewhat easier to get into UTS. But the comparisons are useful anyway. While UTS does not rank as highly as the other two, that difference is often overstated. Employers are unlikely to hold a UTS degree against you, particularly in applied and professional fields. UTS programs place a strong emphasis on job-relevant learning, which often matters more than marginal ranking differences once you're in the workforce. Cost is another important factor. Tuition fees at UTS are generally a little lower than at USyd or UNSW, but the bigger difference often comes from housing. With the campus located next to Central Station, you have more freedom in where you live, which can reduce rent without blowing out commute times. Ultimately, lifestyle plays a big role. UTS tends to suit students who get energy from being in the city and from being around people and the cityscape each day. If that environment energizes you, it can be highly motivating and propel your life forward.